Good day to doctor. My name is Anjali with metric number 269580. And now I'm going to present the group assignment about the financial ratio analysis. So financial ratio analysis is a process of analyzing a company financial statement in order to make decision. So it is used by external stakeholder to assess an organization's overall health and its finance and the commercial values. So it serves as a monitoring tools for the internal user who manage their finance. Two companies were selected to analyze respective company ratio to get insight into their financial performance. So both companies will be compared to each other to see which company performed better. So the two selected companies were Benelux Holding Berhad and Zeeland Berhad, so which are involved in the construction sector. So both companies will be compared to each other to see which company performed better. Benelux Holding Berhad was established in 1978 by late Mr. Liu Eng Chang as a contracting company specializing in civil engineering projects. So Benelux Holding Berhad made its debut in the marine construction industry in 1993 when the Jambatan Pengaruran dan Saluran granted them two coastline protection work. Benelux main business is offering marine construction in a service, focusing on dredging and land reclamation. The process of land reclamation in which they are engaged comprise the dredging of sand, transportation to the reclamation site, sand discharging, leveling, soil consolidation, subcharging and removal of subcharge. Zeeland Berhad was a company that worked mainly in Malaysia on engineering and construction projects and public-private partnership projects. So the group has successfully completed numerous engineering and construction projects in Malaysia, India, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. So engineering and construction, asset and facilities management, and property development are the three specialties of the business. The group has received numerous prizes and accolades of its effort in taking on and successfully completing projects for power plants, marine infrastructure and building mixed development projects. Ratio analysis is a study of several pieces of financial information in the company's financial statement. So they are used mainly by external analysts to assess different aspects of a business. So they make a comparison to other competitive company and utilize the data to determine whether a company's finance health is trading upward or downward.
Liquidity ratio, one of the most crucial financial measures used to assess a debtor's ability to settle current obligations without seeking additional funding from outside sources, is the liquidity ratio. By calculating the current, quick and operating cash flow ratios, liquidity ratios assess a company's capacity to pay its debt and margin of safety. Liquidity is referred to as the capacity to convert assets into cash swiftly and cost effectively. Comparatively, applications of liquidity ratios as where they are most helpful. Current ratio. A liquidity ratio called the current ratio measures a company's capacity to settle short-term debts that are due within a year. It explains to analyze the investor how the business can maximize the value of the current asset shown on its balance sheet to pay of its current debt. A very high ratio suggests that the management may not be making the most use of its assets efficiently, while a lower current ratio may indicate a danger of default. For the Bainals holding Berhad, this indicates that the company had the financial resources to remain solvent in the short term. This shows that the company had the ability to pay its current liabilities with its current assets, however, is recorded at 9.47. A high current ratio could indicate that the company is not using its current assets efficiently. For the Zeeland Berhad, based on the calculation, this result shows that 0.38, which is a poor sign for the company. This indicates that the company does not have the capital to meet its short-term obligation if they were due at once. This shows that the company may not be able to pay its current liabilities with its current assets. This may seem alarming, although different situations can negatively affect in the current ratio in a company, such as pandemic COVID-19 strike at Malaysia. Based on the current ratio, if we compared for the both company, Benen's Holding Berhad recorded 9.47 while Zealand Berhad recorded is 0.38. The difference between the company is 9.09. This shows that Benel's is performing better compared to Zealand Berhad. Benel's had the resources to remain solvent in the short term and able to pay its current liabilities. However, a high current ratio may indicate that the company is not efficiently using its current assets. Zainal Berhad, with low ratio, a ratio of less than 1, suggests that the company does not have enough resources to meet its short-term obligation when it's due overall. Ben's Holding Berhad will have the ability to pay its current liabilities compared to Zealand Berhad. Quick ratio. A quick ratio is an indicator of a company's ability to pay its current liabilities without having to sell its inventory or secure extra financing. Compared to the current ratio, which counts all current assets to coverage for the current liabilities, the quick ratio is seen as more cautious metric. The stronger a company's liquidity and financial health, the higher the ratio result, and the greater the likelihood that it will have trouble paying its debt, the lower the ratio. For Benel's Holding Berhad, based on the calculation, the result shows 1.41, which is a good sign for the company. This indicates that the company had the financial resources to pay its current liabilities with its most liquid assets instantly. The quick ratio of 1.41 indicates that the company has 1.41 of liquid assets and able to recover each one of its current liabilities. For the Zealand Berhad, based on the calculation, the result shows the 0.38, which is a poor sign for the company. This indicates that the company does not have enough financial resources to pay its current liabilities with the most liquid assets instantly. The quick ratio of 0.38 indicates that the company has only 0.38 liquid assets available to cover each one of its current liabilities. This is a worrying situation as the company may not be able to pay off its current liabilities in the short term fully. If we compare the both companies' quick ratio, according to the result calculated, Benel's Holding Berhad had a quick ratio of 1.41 while Zealand Berhad had 0.38. It is clear that the Benel's is performing well compared to the Zealand Berhad. The difference between the two companies is 1.03. Thus, Benel's had the resource to pay its current liabilities with its most liquid assets instantly. Meanwhile, Zealand Berhad is facing difficulty paying its current liabilities with liquid assets, and they may not be able to pay them in the short term fully. Yeah, thank you.
Hello everyone, hello Prof. My name is IMAM KAMIL. My metric number is 283691. I'm here. I want to explain about activity ratios about Jalan Berhad and Benalik Harding Berhad. Firstly, what is activity ratios? Activity ratio is a type of financial metric that indicates how efficiently a company is leveraging the asset on its balance sheet to generate revenues and cash. Commonly referred to as efficiency ratios, activity ratios help analysts gauge how a company handles inventory management, which is key to its operational fluidity and overall fiscal health. Activity ratios are most useful when employed to compare two competing business within the same industry to determine how a particular company stacks up among its peers. But activity ratios may also be used to track a company fiscal progress over multiple recording periods to detect change over time. This number can be mapped to a present forward-looking picture of a company prospective performance. First is inventory turnover. The inventory turnover ratio is the number of times a company has sold and replenished its inventory over a specific amount of time. The formula can also be used to calculate the number of days it will take to sell the inventory on hand. The turnover ratio is derived from a mathematical calculation where the cost of goods sold is divided by the average inventory for the same period. A higher ratio is more desirable than a low one, as a high ratio tends to point to strong sale. Knowing your turnover ratio depends on effective inventory control, also known as stock control, where the company has good insight into what it has on hand. The inventory turnover ratio recorded for Benalik Holding Berhad was 0.12, while Zeeland Berhad was 0. Although Benalik is performing well compared to Zeeland Berhad, both companies are still in a poor situation. Benalik had a 0.12 ratio, showing that the inventory is moving slow. Zeeland Berhad had a 0 ratio, as it has no inventories because they had sold in and transferred into investment properties. Overall, Benalik still performs slightly better than Zeeland Berhad in converting inventory into sales. Second is total asset turnover. The asset turnover ratio measures the value of a company's sales or revenues relative to the value of its asset. The asset turnover ratio can be used as an indicator of the efficiency with which a company is using its asset to generate revenue. The higher the asset turnover ratio, the more efficient a company is at generating revenue from its asset. Conversely, if a company has a low asset turnover ratio, it indicates it is not efficiently using its asset to generate sales. Uh, the second is total asset turnover ratio. Benalik Holding Berhad record 0.09 in total asset turnover, while Zealand Berhad recorded in 0.05. Both company both companies perform poorly as they can only generate low share from the total assets, as shown by the ratio. Still, when comparing both companies, Benelux perform better than Zealand Berhad as in generates more sales. Overall, both companies are not using the assets efficiently to generate generate sales. Third is account receivable turnover. The account receivable turnover ratio shows how long it takes customer to pay on average, and that information in turn reveals a lot about how financially stable the company is and how well its cash flow is managed. The account receivable ratio serves two critical business purposes. First is it enables companies to understand how quickly payments are collected so they can pay their own bills and strategically plan future investment. The secondly, the ratio enables companies to determine if their credit policies and process support good cash flow and continuous business growth or not. Then account receivable turnover ratio. Based on the account receivable turnover calculation, Benalik Harding Berhad record 1.998 while Zealand Berhad record 0.56. The difference between both companies' ratios are 1.43x. We can see that Benelux is performing well compared to Zealand Berhad. This shows that Benelux is able to collect its account receivable in 1.998, times in the year compared to Zealand, as it may be due to an inadequate collection process. Thank you.
Next is about profitability ratio. So profitability ratio show the ability of a business to create income in relation to sales, balance sheet assets, operating costs, and shareholders' equity over a given period. So it demonstrates how well a company uses its asset to generate profit and shareholders' value. Most businesses frequently aim for a higher ratio or value because doing so typically indicate that the company is operating profitable and creating cash flow. The ratio are most helpful when compared to other similar business or the earlier period. First is profit margin on sales. So it's the percentage of a company net revenue that remain after all costs have been deducted from the total sales and divided by the net revenue of sales. So it illustrates how well the company managed its finance by comparing profit to sales. By comparing both Benalik Holdings Berhad and Zealand Berhad, we can see that Zealand Berhad performed better than Benalik Holdings Berhad in terms of profit margin on sales. So Zealand Berhad is recorded 0.19 while Benalik Holding Berhad recorded negative 0.48. This shows that Zealand Berhad was able to convert its sales into a profit. Benalik Holdings Berhad recorded a negative value due to its loss in the net profit for the year 2021. The difference between both companies is 0.67. Thus, Zealand Berhad is handling its finance better than Benalik Holdings Berhad. The second will be the return on asset. So return on asset or ROA is a financial ratio that measures an organization profitability in relation to its total asset. So ROA can be used by management, analysts, and investor to assess how effective a firm uses its asset to generate a profit. While a low ROA suggests a potential for improvement, but a high ROA demonstrates that the organization is more effective and efficient at managing its finance to generate profits. Based on the return on asset calculator, Benalik Holdings Berhad recorded negative 4.27, while Zealand Berhad recorded 0.9998. This indicates that Zealand Berhad is performing slightly better than Benalik Holdings Berhad in terms of using its asset to generate profit. But with the low ratio, the company only generates very little profit from assets. Meanwhile, Benalik Holdings Berhad recorded a loss net profit for the year 2021. So the difference between both companies are 5.2698. Thus, Zealand Berhad is handling its finance better than Benalik Holding Berhad.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. My name is HANISAH binti ROSLI. My matching number is 270196. Today I will present about the leverage ratio. The ratio is a financial indicator that looks at how much of a company's capital is in the form of debt to determine if it will be able to meet its financial obligation. It's crucial since a company's activities are funded by a combination of debt and equity. Debt to asset ratio. The company's debt to asset ratio calculate how much debt it has in comparison to the value of its asset. The debt to asset ratio is calculated to define a company's indebtedness as a proportion of its total asset. Debt to asset debt to asset ratio equal to total liabilities divide total asset. According to the result calculate, Benelek Holding Berhad record 0.38 while Zealand Berhad record 0.91 in debt to asset ratio. The difference between both companies is 0.53. The result for both companies is still performed well as the ratio is less than 1. However, it is clear that Benelek performs slightly better than Zealand as the ratio is much lower. This also shows that Zealand will be riskier than Benelek as it brings more debt when investing in assets. Debt to equity ratio, an evaluation of a corporation's debt to equity ratio may be used to establish how much leverage a company is using. Financial analysis use the debt to equity ratio to assess a company's financial health. Debt to equity ratio equal to total debts divide owner's equity. Debt to equity ratio. When we compare Benelek Holding Berhad and Zelan Berhad in terms of debt to equity ratio, we can see that Benelek Holding Berhad outperforms Zelan Berhad. Benelek record 0.91 while Zelan Berhad record 9.69. The result indicates that Zelan Berhad will be riskier company compared to Benelek as the debt to equity ratio is much higher than Benelek Holding Berhad. That is the end of our presentation. Thank you for your watching.